Okay. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining me tonight. Sorry, that's great. Joining me on the late one in review, where we look at some of the news. Today is the 12th of May, 2022. I want to thank those joining me on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Uh, it's a great day. It's getting nice and getting really sunny and getting really nice, really nice. For those who are traveling to Jamaica, I think you might have some problems going to Jamaica or coming from Jamaica as well. And we're still in the throes of the war that is with Russia and all these guys, big men, big men trying to fight one another. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Queen's speech, yeah. Queen wasn't there today, a couple of days ago, or yesterday. Wonder why. But anyhow, she's not well. She's a very old lady. But it's very interesting to see the transitional process, though, with Charles and William there. UK election results, depending on which side of the fence you are, you will say it's a success or you say it's a failure. And one of the things which is interesting, though, is that the UK said, I'm ready to help. Boris, ready to help Sweden and Finland. Ready to help those countries, especially Finland, talking about wanting to join NATO. But, as Nick Ferrari said, it is good that you're helping these countries. But what about the people in your own country who are suffering? High rate of inflation, taxes, and all those different things. But anyway, that's an interesting day. Gary, welcome, sir. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's great to be with you again, Sylbourne. It's great to know that we can have a conversation.
Fantastic, fantastic. And how's are you enjoying the sunshine? Was it very sunny wherever you are? Something like that?
Yeah, man, we're experiencing Jamaica up this part of the world, man.
You're part of Jamaica there. well, based on what I'm understanding, I understand that might as well be enjoyed because there's a difficulty in getting to Jamaica or getting back from Jamaica. Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? You shouldn't be laughing. Anybody's trying to get back now, they're not in a laughing mood. Have you ever been stuck at the airport? Can't come back. You need to pray. You need to pray, Gary.
It's only for those. Like, for instance, if you and I went back to Jamaica right now and we couldn't get out, well, it's no problem, because we can, to stay another day or two, even though, yes, we'd want to leave to some extent, but it's no problem. We're not having to pay for anything.
Yes. And also of recent days as well, the water problem was there. And, as a man from Ocherius, I've been there in the past whereby we have no water. We just go down a sailor hole, go down on the beach and just bathe. I don't know. I'll go White River. You got to, that's how things used to be, and in a way, it's unfortunate, but anyway, it's been a very, I don't know, Gary, but every week, if one is trying to say we're going to touch on something the following week, there's always something that displaces it or something which remains. Well, we know which one remains still. But the elections, which was recent days, May the 5th, we are seeing the results, and the results somewhat reflects what majority of persons were saying, and what you were saying as well, that the conservative would have had a big dent. And one of the things that came out of the election, ladies and gentlemen, is that of the 200 council seats which were declared, Labour got 74 of the councils. That was a +5, and Conservative was down by 11 council. What should I say? Declares councils, not the seats. Lib Dem +3, Plaid Cymru +3, Independent ±2. So the Conservative got a dent there. But what they are saying at the same time, Conservative is saying, is that it hasn't replicate through the nation in a way to say that the conservative is in trouble. What's your take? I don't. What's your take on the elections there of recent days?
Well, I mean, I think that the conservatives they need to sit up and take note
Mm.
of what really is happening and or has happened. We They can't just sit back and say, well, you know, it's a -11 and a +5 for conservative, and you know, and such, and this is just local elections. I think that they need to take stock.
Yes.
They need to take stock. Look at Westminster and Wandsworth. Those
Mm.
were staunch conservative seats.
Yes.
Now they've changed hands to Labour. They can't sit back and say, well, as if to say nothing has happened. Something has happened. They've lost two staunch councils, and
And
the Westminster seat or the Westminster Council was known back in the day as a
one of those safe
flagship
zones.
for, right, for other constituencies or councils.
Mm.
So I think no, I think something has to happen, and I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if at the next election Boris loses, but loses to what? That's the question.
The what they said is that while they have suffered significant losses at Thursday's local election and losing almost 500 seats and control of 11 councils, as I said before, the party shed support to the Lib Dems, Southern England lost key London councils to Labour. The Tories also saw losses in Scotland. Um, Prime Minister Johnson argued the results had been mixed overall. You see, I don't think the message has really gone through though, Gary. I don't think the message has really gone through.
What message is that?
Well, the message that something needs to shift, because when we touch on the Queen's speech, you realize that there was nothing really fundamental in the Queen's speech, because one of the things that came on the doorstep, what a lot of people were talking about, was the high rate of inflation, the petrol, the gas, the electric in the house. People actually um, deliberating between heating the house and eating food. People are talking about allowing the landlord, telling the landlord, say, hey, go ahead, man, evict us and go through that process there, because they are not able to afford the rent. And I think one of the things that is coming through is where the government is saying that you can't keep throwing money at the problem, because through the pandemic, the government had to fork out a lot of money. So they are saying if we do that now, it's still going to have an impact later on down the road. So therefore, you're not really dealing with the problem. You're actually fueling the problem for later. Yeah.
Well, true. I mean, I do believe that. And secondly, the thought came into my mind: the percentage of people who voted this time around. Look it over a 5 or 10 year period. Has that increased or has it gone down?
Mm.
Because if it has gone down, which I do suspect it has, then that means that there is a lot of people out there that used to vote is not voting, and because of that, the figures that they are or the polls that's coming out now, they're not accurate. They're not accurate. So people who are disillusioned are not voting, and they certainly wouldn't then vote for conservative. So the conservatives need to attract them or those who have not voted. Those who have not voted, whatever the reasons are, they're not voting now.
Yeah.
So I do believe that whatever they're doing now, let 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 the bills bite a little more, because they will. Let them bite a little more, and they're going to see, the Conservative Party is going to see how difficult it's going to be in the next. Is it 2 years time?
Yeah.
Is it 2 years that the next election is going to be? So they can't sit back, and I don't see how Boris Johnson is going to try and sort out the what is it called, the standard of living, when
Yes.
the standard of living is worldwide. Every area every area on this globe is having to deal with standard of living
At this
and
present moment, yes.
this present moment. And so one area, the United States, for example, affects the whole world.
And the
So
leadership in America now is not very strong.
it's not strong. It's not strong at all. It's not strong at all. So what does Boris Johnson have up his sleeve that is not that can only affect the UK, and everybody in the United Kingdom is going to be better off in let's say in the next 6 to 12 months,
Yeah.
and the rest of the world is going to have difficulties. That won't happen. Don't let words fool you, man. And
Yeah.
I think that's what's happening, because look what's happening in Sri Lanka. The prime minister of that country had to step down
But
because
I think they might be locking him up. Yeah.
well, they had to step down. The foreign reserves is nil. Petrol, diesel, fuel is run out. There's none there. So
Yeah.
what's happened there? Nobody wants to say it, but believe me, it may just happen here in the next couple of months or a year and a half's time. Never say never.
I've seen that they're actually wrapping some leaders in some white jacket or something like that as well. But the interesting thing though is I think when the prime minister actually said, and I believe Nick Ferrari took him to task on this point, that they're going to be helping Sweden Sweden or Finland if Russia attacks them or so. So they're throwing a lot of resources there. Now, mark you, the resources that they throw to these countries and to Ukraine is really weapons. But those weapons cost. You know what I'm trying to say, Gary? I mean, I have massive feedback in your place, so I'm mute your point to get rid of the trashy sound. You know, so the point about it is they have to somehow throw money or throw resources to cushion the blow, because at the end of the day, you're talking about people, and that is where communism sometimes comes in and socialism comes in. But at the same time, they say that wrecks the country down the road. You get what I'm saying? And I'm sure a lot of people will agree that there need to be something that cushion the blow, because that is something that was coming at persons on the doorstep. Many people were saying at the doorstep, that is what they were getting at the doorstep. High rate of inflation, and how the government, how your party is going to do it. And people voted accordingly. Not about the fact that that person was a really good counselor. Not that that person was doing a fantastic job, but they want to send a message to the prime minister. I lift the mute off for you, yeah.
Well, again, I mean, what can I say to what you've said? I don't know what to say to that.
Yeah, yeah. So
I
so
don't know.
so the other thing also, which came true during the course of this period was the Queen's speech. And what was interesting about the Queen's speech was that the Queen wasn't there. They should have called it.
I like that.
They should have called it the Charles speech, William and Charles speech. It is obvious that there's a transition process going on. It's obvious that the Queen is on her way out. I know everybody is talking about that, you know. And eventually there's going to be a breaking news very soon. And the breaking news is going to say the Queen is dead, long live the King. And then Charles starts to reign, unless Charles abdicate and give it over to unless Charles abdicate and give it over to William. And I don't know what people think about that, but that is something that one has to look at down the road. Eventually, if Charles actually abdicate and give it to William, because the Queen wasn't there. Now, the Queen's speech, Gary, as we discussed, touched on some very key point, and it sets out the government legislative agenda for the next parliamentary year, and it talk about Brexit. There were six proposed bills intended to make the UK more competitive or otherwise free and liberal in the wake of Brexit, or tailor post-Brexit trade deals. You know what's going on now in Ireland. You got the culture war. What is planned? Yeah, seven
Mhm.
bills arguably aiming part of stirring up the Tory base, creating headlines in friendly papers and things like that. Are you okay there, Gary?
I'm good. I'm good.
I'm hearing some good feedback, but yeah. So,
I don't know what. There's
yeah,
nothing.
don't
There's no.
worry, don't worry. I'm sure Rich is. We're not saying anything against the government. You know, we're not saying we're not saying anything against what should I say Ukraine, because they say if you say anything against Ukraine or whatever like that, they will shut you down. That's a new vaccine, you know.
Is that what they've said?
Yeah, yeah. I think some platforms are now saying that if you sort of make anti or pro Russian, then there's a question about that you could be flagged, or if you're monetizing, you won't be monetized. You know. But have you had any reflection regarding the Queen's speech? Even though it was a very short speech, I saw the speech, a very short speech, Richard. You know. By the time Prince Charles started to speak and I went to get a coffee, it was over. And you think about all of that first 10 minutes or so, millions.
Yeah, I think. I mean, you spoke about. I think there's a transition that's going on right now. I
Mm.
think there's a transition. I don't know if Charles will take it on right now again. If he does, he may take.
Again, what do you mean again?
Well, I don't. I don't think he would take it on for any length of time. I think
You
he
mean
may,
you mean as a king?
as the king.
Yeah, but he has to
I
do
think
it. They have to do it. They have to do it till death, innit? Unless they abdicate and want to marry an American.
no, but no. I think he may abdicate and give it to his son. That's what I'm saying. I think
Okay,
now is the time for a younger man. I think now is the time for William. I think
so
the time that for Charles to have the throne has passed really, and
you,
I think William, it's time for William.
you think
This
Charles?
generation, is generational.
Yes, yes.
I
So
think
you
so.
think so you think Charles' days are numbered as well?
I really believe that.
Wow, wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? Do you think that Charles should stand down and let Prince William take over the throne or so? But I think at the same time, people are somewhat a bit now disenchanted with the whole royalty and all those sort of things. You know, the world has moved on, and it's like they're taking up space to a certain extent, and you got a lot of the Republicans who are somewhat anti. You know, that was the crew led by Jeremy Corbyn. You know, and thinking that that's the time now. It's a new era. It's a new time now, and whereby we need to step into a next level because with what is happening in Ukraine, what's happening in the world, you realize that there's a massive shift, and the whole thing regarding the Commonwealth, the whole thing regarding the traveling of the different royals to different Caribbean countries and getting all of these kickback, all these demonstration, and saying to them that we need reparation. I think they're gonna say, I tell you what, let us just shut this thing down fast because I'm all we're gonna get broke, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I mean the Queen's speech. I mean, it's basically sets out what the government is planning to do. Yes,
Mm,
but bearing in mind what the country is facing right now, that do you think that the government can address all that they've said? I mean, when you take, for instance, the Brexit.
yeah.
Now, that's a shambles. Even before it got off the ground, it was a shambles. and I think it was when they said that we've got a deal or there was a deal, it was no deal at all. It was just something just to um, just so that the UK didn't have to pay fines or wasn't taken to court or so. But based on what is being done now,
Yeah.
even with the mess up on the Northern Ireland um, deal, that's
Mm.
they are going to court because Boris has said that they're going to scrap it. They're going to scrap whatever was negotiated. That's coming to an end anyway. And the EU has said that whenever he does that, they're taking the government. They're taking the UK to court. So
Mm.
my question is this: did it make sense for the UK to leave the European Union? Now, I know I've got my religious friends out there and colleagues and companions to say that it was it was foretold or is in the scriptures.
It was expedient.
Yeah, that the United Kingdom leaves Europe. That may be so,
Yes.
but at the same time, with everything else that's happening really right now, England to me is far more closer to Europe now because of what has happened in Ukraine
Mm.
more than they've ever been, even while they were in Europe, the European Union.
Well, why you
Because
didn't say that is because they are more working closely with Ukraine than how the EU seem to be coming together. Boris seemed to be on the front line, or the Britain is on the front line more.
well, Britain is on the front line more, but they were always there.
Mm.
They were always there. Um, you see, the European Union, if anybody would agree with me on, is more about economics, isn't it?
Yeah, I think one of the points which was being flagged up a lot was that the UK is not leaving Europe because geographically it is positioned
It's,
in Europe.
right,
It is the economic aspect of the EU, the economic forum.
right,
That is where they
right,
are moving from.
right.
Mm.
But still, the UK is still very much entwined because how can one? The question is, and the political answer is dotted with mines all over the place. It will blow up in your face if you're not careful. But how
Mm.
can England work with Europe on a military scale, so close as we are now,
Mm.
with Ukraine being the focus point here against Russia, but yet economically, yes, we're not connected. I mean, to me, everything everything is is very much entwined, and economically, it's a mess because Europe Europe or England, whichever you want to say, in my mind, with all the trades that's ever happened, it's just mined with political bombs. That's all it is.
Mm.
And it's just about to dealing with money because I was watching something on the news. I can't remember which news media I was watching the other day, not too long
Yeah.
ago anyway. And this particular this particular politician, I can't remember. I think it was Lib Dems. I'm not too sure, but it's
Yeah.
as if to say that the document that each lorry driver has to fill out was like this thick.
Uh-huh.
Now,
Yeah.
who's done that? Isn't it the politicians? It's the politicians that do that.
Yeah.
There should be no reason why the businesses in Europe and the businesses in the United Kingdom cannot cannot trade with each other without having to fill out documents each time a lorry driver comes over. Is there having to fill out a document like this? There should be
Yeah.
no reason.
So what you're trying to say is that Brexit is very counterproductive.
Brexit is counterproductive. Why again? Look in the supermarkets, look in Asda, look in the Tesco's, look in the Waitroses and all the major uh, supermarkets. I can go into the Tesco that I've used now, probably either in Birmingham or here in Leeds.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that the stuff that we use, forget about Ukraine, forget about the war that's happening now, because this happened before the war. Yes? I guarantee you that there are some produce which was there before Brexit, and after Brexit, what happened? They went down, or they're not, or they're having difficulty getting it across,
Yeah.
all because of this Brexit,
An ideology.
and and the ideology behind it. And I don't think that somebody's making money out of this.
But at the same time, one must take into consideration, and well, that's politics about, and that's governance. At the same time, that the pandemic, COVID, tend to put things off course. The plan, nobody planned, Boris didn't plan to go into the election and going to deal with COVID. It was to deal with Brexit. But COVID sort of put things on a spanner. That was a spanner in the works. And it seemed like now, with the Queen's speech, that is what is trying to set the motion now and deal with these outstanding issues that need to be dealt with. I think that in light of even what is happening with Europe, I think Brexit has its plus, and yes, it has its minus. But they have not been able to effectively, I would say, gone through the whole process and deal with it based on that time agenda which was set out after we left Europe, because COVID came and threw everything. But the point about it is this: COVID has shown us that in a make no sense we try to split ourselves and go our different ways because we all entwine and interconnected. So might as well we just work together no matter what.
Well, yes. I
Mm,
mean, I think that that is. You see, Sylbourne,
yes.
who travels? Who out of all? I don't. I really have to question about this Brexit move, because now, at least, anyway,
Mm.
because it is the British
We
that
travel a lot.
that goes to Spain, that goes to Portugal, that
Yeah.
has properties in France.
Yes.
You've got our children. They do more travel in a year than what we ever did in a lifetime, at
Yeah.
least going to Europe. They're more European than the Europeans themselves,
Mm.
right? Now, that's on one hand. On the other hand, who are the ones that, with the majority, voted for Brexit?
The older folks.
Now, they are the ones that voted for it. They are the ones that
Won't be.
hated the idea of the 60s, well, let's
Mm.
say of the late 50s, 60s, and 70s, of ever mixing with Europeans, or at least with the French.
And
Now, this generation, why should they suffer for the reasons of a generation that they didn't have anything to do with? Why are our children now suffering? Why are our children now having to not be able to travel as much as they would like without having to get this, to get that, to be looked on? I know, again, in as much as we know that Europe is a racist continent, we know that
mm.
it has come to the fore, right? Sadly, with the Africans in Ukraine
Yes.
wanting to leave Ukraine, but told no blacks. That's what they've been told. So we know it exists in Europe. That's
Yes.
quite plain. But at the same time, our children, our
Mm.
grandchildren, even some of us, We love to drive to France. We love to drive to Italy, to drive to Portugal,
Yeah.
drive to Spain, Germany, all these other countries, so that we can get a feel of the country. Now they've got restrictions upon restrictions of getting there. When it wasn't our fault in the first place, why we didn't want to join the European Union? So
Well,
I
one of the things, before we move on from this topic, one of the things that the persons who voted for Brexit, as you say, most of them are the older folks, they're saying that the Brexit or the Europe that they voted to go in is not the Europe which is there now, or the EU which is now there now. So therefore, they are seeing it as they are correcting the wrong. That's their sort of argument that they are correcting the wrong, while at the same time the youths or the younger persons who are advocate of Brexit are actually saying we love what this is. So what's going to happen is that later down the road there's going to be another government that comes in and start the process to go back into the EU, just like how Nicola Sturgeon is trying to get out of the UK. You know, and that is what is going to happen, and that is where you have all these different referendums that set the stage. Yeah. So listen, that's an interesting one. Interesting that we're back on Brexit again. I mean, Brexit done and gone. Is it what Boris said? What was it? Let's what? Let's get Brexit done. That was the word.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, I was in Westminster that night with thousands there, and that was and right after that, COVID came and hit us. But listen, there's something very interesting though, and we spoke about this, and it is actually coming to pass, whereby Russia has said it will be forced to take retaliatory steps over its neighbor Finland because of its move to join NATO. Remember, we're talking about that, and many people are saying if you don't stop Russia now, where will he continue? Finland joining NATO, and then Boris is actually saying as well that hey, if anything happened to um, Finland and Sweden by the antics of Russia, then they are going to be, you know, it's, I don't know. These guys just want to mash up the world. I think these guys are just playing to mash. You see, why I look at it very interesting and very concerning is the fact that they know they know that these are the triggers. We all know triggers. We talk about triggers all the while. I found it very interesting, Gary. I'm going to do a sidestep here. One university said they shouldn't use triggers because the students don't like it. See, we are growing up, all these PR people are growing up, fanky, young people, universities are saying don't use triggers. But anyway, the point about it is that triggers are there. The trigger that will create more thing. Russia's been saying that, and it's like they want to push the boundaries. What's your take on that, ladies and gentlemen? What's your take on that, Mari Jamka? What's your take on that? Finland wanted to join NATO, and Russia said, "I'm gonna mash up your country."
Listen,
Hmm.
there's a madman in there already, yeah. And if he's doing what he's doing to Ukraine, then he will do that to Finland. Only that now, you see, how quick how quick are they going to move to allow Finland to join NATO?
That's a big question because it is like they have set the process now for Russia to move, because until Finland is a part of NATO, because what they said, a foreign ministry statement said that the move would seriously damage bilateral relations as security and stability in Northern Europe. Finland president and PM called for the country to apply for NATO membership without delay. Finland shares a 1,300 kilometer or 810-mile border with Russia. It has stayed out of NATO to avoid antagonizing its eastern neighbor, which is Russia. Finland will formally announce its decision on Sunday after it's been considered by Parliament and other senior political figures. And Sweden has said it will announce a similar decision on the same day. So I'm trying to say, these guys are escalating the whole thing right before our very eyes.
and then your prime minister has then said that
Well,
anyhow
your prime minister, we voted for him. The UK prime minister is your prime minister as well.
your and your Boris, your friend Boris has said, he has publicly said, hasn't he not, that if
Yes,
Russia attacks, he's assured the prime minister and president of Finland that if Russia attacks them, then England is behind them. Well,
mean to say England will react.
well, that is war, my friends, because England will not only go in, but the United States will be there, and the rest of Europe will be there. Believe me.
I always wonder sometimes. Always wonder sometimes. Hi Wayne, how are you doing? Always wonder sometimes when these guys or these prime ministers out there speaking like that, do they have consultation with the people? It was just like the war when they went to the Iraq war. Did they have a consultation? And when the thousands of people came out and said, "Stop the war coalition," that didn't stop anything. And I'm sure the majority of Brits are actually saying, "Don't, just easy, chill." Listen, after the whole COVID thing, and I'm sure everybody will agree with this, it's like the world just need a moment to just chill. Stop for a second and chill. Take a chill pill. Let us actually get out of this thing and just live our life a bit, you know. But everybody want war. Every day is war, 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 war.
Well,
Mm.
again, think about it like this too,
Yes,
Sil.
yes,
War brings money. It makes
yes,
money, and um, every now and again. And when I say every now and again, it's not like every 5 or 10 years or whatever. Probably every 20, 25, 40 years. There's always a period of war. 30, 35 years. There's always a period of war, and that lives are lost. You have to consider it. You have to consider these things because that's how these people think. That
mm,
lives are lost, um, cities are destroyed. You rebuild back cities. You have new families, new lives are then made. Jobs become plentiful again, and money begins to flow. So it's a system that has always been in place. It's
yes, yes,
always been there. And as
yes.
long as the world lasts, that's what's going to happen.
Well, we all know it's a business. It's a big deal, So maybe what we need to start to think about is the Prime Minister of Jamaica is saying that there's been an influx of persons requesting citizenship for Jamaica. So a lot of people are actually planning to go to Jamaica as soon as possible, or they say soon and very soon we shall go in to see the land of wood and water
But
and
it's like
get away
it's
from the
like the
Babylon
Chinese. The Chinese.
Chinese,
There's an influx of Chinese going up there, building
Well,
up the
well,
road
well, I,
and
well,
everything.
well, I, well, I don't know who is actually going down there, but they say there's an influx of requests.
Yeah, man.
Now,
It's the Chinese.
yeah. Well, if I touch on Jamaica even briefly, before we go and wrap up, but I put this picture up there because that is actually the airport,
Yeah.
okay, and that is the minister saying Labour minister condemns strike by air traffic controllers because apparently what is happening is that there's a present strike. Um, Somebody saw my post and said they're actually in the process of leaving Jamaica, sorry, traveling, coming back to the UK, and they saw this thing. And what is it? A total of 28 flights that were scheduled to arrive at the Sangster International Airport in Montego Bay, St. James, have been cancelled, right? Have been cancelled. And I've just put up something there that shows all these flights cancelled. Charlotte, Atlanta, will that arrive? New York, JFK, Miami, Toronto, all of these cancelled, 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 cancelled. And I don't know the full reason. Somebody actually said that there were some parts or so which is needed, and they are holding the government at ransom. What is also very interesting as well is that couple of days ago, water was shortage. Not water was short. Them locked down the water. The guys then walk off and jump and lock down the water. So them get their pay. Yeah. And then and then again, temperature rising, 30,000 strong civil service union to serve notice of industrial action. Can Jamaica deal with that now?
What can Jamaica deal with, my brother? Tell
Yeah.
me. You know.
So that's what. But you see, I've said this before, and I said it in a previous show, a discussion that I believe so much that after this whole pandemic, everyone need to somewhat settle down. I believe that the prime minister, I believe that the government ministers, they need to work towards building up Jamaica, making sure that they're talking to the different workers, because based on what I'm reading and what I'm seeing, it seemed like it is something which has been going on for a while and building up. This is what the guy said: 30,000 workers represented by the Jamaica Civil Service Association have agreed to put the government on notice that strike action by them over wage reform is imminent. Right? That's a powerful area, you know? Civil servants that
It
affect
is.
affect a lot in Jamaica. Yeah.
It is. It is. I mean, I don't know. I was listening to um Wholeness in his in he was installing a Costas in St Andrew there. I don't know if you know about that one.
I
But
saw it.
he,
I saw it there. I saw the Custis there.
but he was there trying to encourage the Jamaicans there to help build up the country. But then I read some time ago, a few days before now, that the Bank of Jamaica is spending over a billion Jamaican dollars, isn't it? To print some new currency.
Oh yeah, yeah. Some new funky currency or so like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why all of that? Why are we spending? It's like England spending a whole heap of money to be sending arms and whatever to Ukraine, and the guy is right. What about the people here? What about the citizens? We're not. These guys don't know what they're doing, man. Yet they're coming back to us, asking us to vote them in, and we vote them in. That is the
That's
calamity of it all.
that's, that's a
And yet when
calamity.
they get in, they don't remember UCDL. Them still are sending people and money and spending billions
Yeah.
to a war that you not interested and you not involved in. But yet when they want you to vote for them, you're voting them in. Who is the idiot?
Idiot me, idiot you, and stuff like that. If we keep
You
going down
know?
that particular part there, you know. Um, the interesting thing about what you said there, because you mentioned Nick Ferrari, because Ukrainian refugees will not be deported to Rwanda. Boris Johnson said, and he gave his assurance: Ukraine refugees fleeing the Russian invasion of their homeland will not get shipped off to Rwanda. I think that was just a statement which just put a massive hole in the whole thing, and everybody will say, okay, so it's a racist thing then. The Prime Minister told LBC Nifero that they would not be sending East African, despite a new agreement to send asylum seekers there. The world is not level.
It's not level. At no time. That's why I've said to you, my friend and my brother,
Yeah.
that that none of these people that came across on the boat should ever be sent to Rwanda. Should never, because we're supporting a racist regime. That's what we're supporting. They should be staying here. Why should we send those you know from Libya, from wherever they went, to come to the UK, then to be sent, we're sending you to Rwanda, but yet when the Ukrainians are coming here, we must open up our houses to put them in. What's the difference? You know, if we have to open up our houses or whatever to find space for a Ukrainian, which of course I don't have any problem with,
In
because if
principle,
we can do it, that is fine.
yes,
But yet we are then sending, let us say it like this, sending our own brothers and sisters of
yes,
light
yes,
color, you know.
yes,
We're sending them away, but we can't do the same for our own for our own people. And we sit down here saying, "It's all right, man. Let us send them to Rwanda, because Rwanda is a good country, and Africa is this, and Africa is that, and and it's good for them to go there." No, 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 Sylbourne, I can't.
yeah.
I
So
can't
what?
agree with that.
So what you're saying then is this: if it was really level, then one could have some second thoughts about it. I mean to say that if all were going there, not just some, it was therefore if Ukrainian were also going there as well.
If that was being said and done, I would never have a problem with. No, I wouldn't have a problem. But we're not doing that, are we?
Mm.
We're not doing that at all. And this country, this government, listen, you look back, you look back at when what's the prime minister's name again? Winston Churchill,
Yes.
right? When he was in government, and we talk so much about him. Well, this whole country thinks that Winston Churchill is one of the greatest prime ministers that the world has ever, or this country has ever had as a wartime leader, right? But when the books are opened, and another book was opened, right, and it comes out that that same individual, right, wanted to turn a ship full of black people from the Caribbean and send it peanuts, to go down there and to pick peanuts.
That was Windrush.
And he did not want them to come to this country. So why do you think do we think that the speech of people today is any different to the words that is being used down in the 1940s? Listen,
Yeah.
man, if we're asleep, we are definitely asleep. Because not only I'm not agreeing with what our boys are doing on the streets. Every now and again they're causing riots and they're burning down shops and all of that. I would never agree with that, because again, you destroy the livelihoods of men and of women.
Yes.
You take away money and food out of the mouth of babes. But what
Yes.
I'm saying here is that if we as black people, and I know there are black people out there, Sylbourne, who are well educated, well placed, in good jobs and in good positions to speak truth to the situation, and to cause people to sit up and to take note of what is happening and what has happened in the past. And what's happening now is not new, Sylbourne. It's not new. All of these things is the only thing is that is new clothing.
Mm.
New clothing. And because it's new clothing, it's something that looks new.
Yes.
But they've been dressing and they've been redressing the same racist moves and racist thoughts that are being propagated in this country. But we sit down because, hey, listen, I'm here already, so they can't bother me. They can't
Yeah.
trouble me. I've got a good education. I'm BA, MA, and PhD. So I'm
And OBE and OBE and CBE.
and MBE and all of them things. None of these things. You see, and then we sit back. We're comfortable. We're feeding our children. We're sending our children to top class universities and such. No problem. My children are well educated and such. So hands up here.
I'm cool. I'm cool.
Yeah. But the thing about it, my friend, is that if we don't start doing something and making our voices heard, and that is what needs to be done.
And what do we need to do, Gary?
Man, you said that so cool, man. You said that so cool, Sylbourne. You really put the spanner in the works. Then I had to drop my handbrakes. Then you hear the You hear the wheels screeching? No,
Yeah.
right? No, Sylbourne, seriously, seriously. We've got men and women. You know quite a few of them, I'm quite sure.
Mm.
You know, you've heard them. You've sat down with some. Some have written brilliant papers, probably. Some of them are sitting down around the table of many powerful white men or white women. Let's say that, right? And
Yeah.
and they sit with them, not every day, probably every so often,
Yes.
you know. But but um but Silborn, what are they doing? What are they doing to help me or to
Mm.
help the populace? Are they just sitting down and just ticking boxes to say, well,
We did
I've
this. We did that.
met, every 2 weeks or every month, I sit down with the PM in Downing Street, or I go to Whitehall and we talk about the issues. Okay, fine, you talk about them, but are they being cascaded down to the little man like me?
Mm.
No, they're not. And when policies can come out, like to say these men and women, girls, boys, babes, come across the channel for whatever reason, and some do come, unscrupulously, and for whatever means, they may not be good. I'm not saying that everybody comes over has good intentions. But what I'm saying is that when they make policies to say they're sending them off to Rwanda, but the but yet the white is coming over, the white woman, the white man, the white girls, the white boys. Let's find our home. Open up your homes.
Yeah.
Let's house them. Let's make them feel comfortable. Now, what's going on? What are they trying to say to us? Are we
Well,
going to sit down here and feel comfortable?
yeah. Well. I think if one is having a simple sense, which is called common sense, without we going deep, one should recognize clearly that the world is not level. One could recognize clearly that it's not fair, and one can recognize and say something is not right and need to call it out as much as possible. I mean, I do emphasize, and I did, in the past when the whole Rwanda thing came up, I looked at it and say, what's wrong with Africa? But that was one perspective, one side of the coin. But when I heard how the Prime Minister said that he gives assurance that the Ukrainians will not go to Rwanda, I'm saying, so what's wrong with Rwanda then? If Rwanda is good for the black persons, then why is Rwanda not good for the white persons as well? If the issue is about capacity, if the issue is about resources, then it isn't the same thing as well, because at the end of the day, the UK is paying out money to actually take care of the Ukrainians. Now, don't get me wrong, as I said, and you and I will say it very clearly, nobody's opposing it, but it doesn't add and it doesn't look fair. And it shows that the world is not level and not equal. And as you rightly say, if good men and good women who sit in the House of Commons and allow these things to happen, just like that, blatantly before the very eyes, you cannot blame the average man out there who may not have that sense of, what should I say, um, the right word is control, self control. You can't blame if there's an explosion where people start to react because they are saying this is not fair. Because we're coming out of the pandemic, which had a great impact on many people's lives. We're getting into something which is creating demoralization of lots of people. A, petrol prices are so high. People need that, especially if they are taxi drivers, if they are teaching people to learn to drive, if lots of people are now doing work like with Amazon. I mean, I wonder if Amazon actually is going to give them more money. Those people who even deliver Amazon with their own vehicles, will they get more money for all those deliveries when the petrol price is going high? And they have to, you know, and also with the homes, the heating, you know. Unfortunately, one minister of government or one MP said people need to learn to cook in a way, and that's what make a big difference. You're right. People are not connected, and they are not actually understanding. And I don't believe that the government is really in touch with the people. And those are my views there.
Yeah, the government is not in touch. The
Mm.
government is certainly not in touch. So I really believe that we the people, we the people, there's
Need to what?
something.
Rise up, Gary.
Huh?
The people need to rise up.
Yeah. Yeah. I do believe that we need to rise up. I
Yes.
think that we're hearing the same old, as somebody would say, same old, same old. We're hearing the same voices all the time.
Yes.
We're hearing the same words all the time. But what then do we do? We just sit back and we relax, and that is across the board. Across the board. Look at when when um when the government said what they said about Rwanda, and one of notable um statue, like what's his name, the Archbishop of Canterbury. He came out and he spoke out against it.
Yes.
But what did the government do? What
Uh,
have they done? Tell me.
I,
They,
I,
they've done nothing simple. What I'm trying to say is that yes, they can always say, well, the Archbishop spoke. Wilby, is that his name? Wilby.
maybe, yeah.
He said, they can always say, well, he voiced his opinion and that's his right. Yeah, but at the same time, he's just been kicked to the curb because if the church use him as the focal point for the church, all the churches in this country, if the church has stood up and said something about this and the government takes no note,
Mm.
then what use have we? Because I tell you what, the church in this country, it means nothing.
Mm.
And that may be a bit strong, but it means nothing because so much the citizens of this country has looked to the church, I believe,
Mm.
in various quarters to speak out and to stand for righteousness.
Yes.
And the church has not said anything. And the thing about it, many would probably say, well, yeah, the archbishop has said this and the archbishop has said that, and the various church leaders have met and have done this and have done that. But what what really has been done?
Yes.
Yes. Sylbourne, what's been done? Tell me.
Well,
Well,
I don't think much has been done, Gary. And I think what we have to keep doing is to keep sounding the alarm and somehow trust that the powers that be will hear. But separate and apart from the powers that be to hear, I think one will have to put our hand to the plow and to do something and to lobby our MPs and to speak to them. And I think that is something that one has to do. Lobby your MPs and to speak to them and to tell them that Houston, we got a problem. You know. Well, Gary, listen, it has been a good day, a good discussion.
Well, I haven't. I see my very good friend there, Deanne. I don't know. She came on a bit late, so I was wondering. I haven't heard from any of my friends. It looks like they've deserted me.
Yeah, you'll have to come on Saturday night.
It looks like I
So,
have to come on. It looks like it, even though it's rather difficult. It's been rather difficult for me, but I think I better stir up the nest when I come in on Saturday.
yeah. Well, the thing about Saturday is we're sort of looking somewhere like at the school system back home there. The school system back home, is it broken or not? There's a video which was going around with this little boy swearing and cursing his teacher. It's all over social media as well.
Is
Very
it in
sad
Jamaica? In
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 Jamaica.
Jamaica?
I said to a friend of mine, if it was me, I wouldn't have lived to tell the tale.
Hold on. They would have beat you in school, right? Beat you till, let's say, let me exaggerate it a bit, right?
Yeah.
They would have beat you till you're dead, and then when you go home, they resurrect you and beat you again.
Okay. And the thing about it is that your parents will actually ask you to go for the belt, and then you have to walk past your parent to go for the belt, and then come back, and then when you're getting beaten, you're actually crying, and you're getting beaten again to say, "What you crying for?"
Stop your eyes. Stop, you don't
Something
get
like,
no
or
prayer.
another one. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Uh,
but it was very concerning just watching that video of that little boy, the way he was actually cursing the teacher. And then what you have to look at is the fact that in order for him to be saying that to the teacher, where did that come from, Gary? Where did that come from? Where did that come from? For him to be speaking to the teacher like that, where did that come from? Where was he trained? Where was he culturalized? How was it? What was his brought upsy, as they say? That's the word. The brought upsy of someone to actually be cursing your teacher. You know, it's a
yeah,
shame.
you spare the rod. The Bible does say, and it's true. You spare the rod, spoil the child, isn't it?
Yes, 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 yes,
And
yes.
and and the sad thing about it, folks, is that if the teacher then went to reprimand the boy, the parent would come down to the school to
Pure fight.
reprimand the teacher.
The reprimand, the fight. I think I saw one the other day whereby the a security guard got beat up by a teacher. Yeah.
You see, so you have to wonder. You really have to wonder. It's the fault. The fault lies in the home. The
Yeah.
fault lies in the home.
Well, that's what somebody just said. Jackie Flick just said on Instagram here, it begins at home. I saw another video today of a little boy, um, 13, 14 or so, stabbing, using a knife to stab a 40-year-old woman. They have some altercation on the street. Where was it? South London, South Croydon. Today, I don't know if it's today or what, but it's going around on social media.
I haven't seen it. I
The,
don't see
the,
it.
the papers pick it up, but they withhold some bit. But you got different social media platforms that actually show it, and you see the altercation. But the fact that the little boy took out a knife and started to juke at the lady to stab her, and then the question you got to ask yourself is, hang on a second, did that knife went to school as well? Yeah, did that knife went to school as well? And that goes back again to the home, the discipline, and it has to do a lot with parents as well. Parents not there, mothers there doing what they can do, but the father's not there. The whole impact of inflation, high rate of inflation, people have to work 2, 3 jobs, can't spend the time. You can be a father, but are you a present father or not? That's the thing. Which remind me, rest in peace to Kevin Samuels, but I think he was saying some serious stuff at some point, and yeah, that's it. Gary, listen, bro, have a
Yeah,
have a good
lessons, man.
night. Yeah,
Yes, yes. It's
yeah,
been a pleasure
yes.
as
Peace out,
always.
and hopefully see you Saturday night.
Hopefully,
Nice talking to you. All right,
hopefully, my brother. God bless.
take care of yourself, sir. Take care of yourself. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining tonight. Hey, Kavita, how are you doing? You should be sleeping, getting ready for tomorrow, And thank you so much for joining. Night all. Very interesting discussion. Without a doubt, one has got to send a message or so to the Prime Minister, to the governments that be, that we don't want any war. Because if this whole thing going on with uh, Finland joining NATO, Sweden joining NATO. Russia is saying they're going to be a problem with that. Why are we escalating this? Why are we pushing the fire? Why are we stoking the fire? Why are we stoking the fire? That's a big thing. Why are we stoking the fire? Why are we pushing the hand? You know? Why? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk about Saturday night. We'll talk. We have work tomorrow. Yes, we do. Jacqueline, have a good night. Keep your walk. See you in the morning with my walk and talk motivational moment. Peace out, ladies and gentlemen. Remember to like and subscribe and share the video and let us hear your views as well. Peace out and have a good night. Cool.